Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 1 of the anime series, Aria the Scarlet Ammo AA. For all intents and purposes, a spin-off season from the original Aria the Scarlet Ammo anime series, which I actually watched in its entirety. I marathoned it as a precursor to this, just to get myself familiar with the universe and the characters and everything like that, all those dynamics, and put a full series review up just a couple of days ago as of the time of this recording. For those who may have seen that, you may know that I have been a little bit dissatisfied with the series proper. I felt like it really lacked a sort of focus and was a little bit all over the place in certain estimations. While it did have stellar aspects like memorable characters and everything, I had a favorite character out of the entirety of the series, which was unfortunately one we didn't get to see a lot of. I kind of feel like right out of the gate jumping into this series, even though people are a little bit up in arms that it doesn't continue the story, it is a spin-off, I feel like they are much more on point in this particular, beginning and everything like that. There is an actual impetus behind it, there is a focus, and it's quite intriguing to me that the titular Aria is actually not the main focus of the series. While she does feature prominently, she's not the main character, so to speak. That falls to basically the character of Mamiya Akari, who in the Butte High School, for those unfamiliar with the background of this particular series, all of these kids are going to school and they have their normal sort of scholastic things like maths and English and science. They also are basically training to become mercenaries for hire, or whatever the equivalent would be in that, terminology Butte, where they could then be hired out for mercenary work, anything from being bounty hunters to bodyguards, going after criminals, conducting investigations, munitions work, all this kind of stuff. And in the case of Aria, she is a class or rank S, amongst her class, the highest possible ranking, even in just the second year of the high school, whereas Mamiya is bottom of the barrel rank E. She's the lowest possible rank, and she's very timid and sort of easily freaked out, very sketchy, scatty, and everything like that. And she has Aria up on a pedestal. She's like very much trying to emulate her and become like her, aspire to be like Aria and all this kind of stuff, because of just the badass prowess Aria is known for. And that's one of the, standout things for this series that I didn't really get that much in the main, Aria the Scarlet Ammo series. Aria is said to be, and she has this sort of reputation for being a badass chick wielding a gun, kind of akin to like a Revy from Black Lagoon, and I didn't get that at all throughout the course of the series proper. In this episode, you can see that in spades. I mean, there's this grand action sequence where Aria and you even see Reki, my favorite character from the series proper, the green-haired sniper girl, taking out these robbers who are making a getaway on boats, and there's all this crane work and flying around, and Aria just wipes the floor with these guys, and she's all kinds of badass. This is the Aria I was expecting to see in the series proper, and didn't really get much of, at least to my satisfaction. And so you can see very easily why Mamiya is so much consumed with this girl and why she so idolizes her. Now, her friends basically tell her about, there's this thing called an Amica contract where she can fill out a document, submit an application to Aria that will seek for Aria to take her under her tutelage. Basically, Mamiya would then become kind of an apprentice, and she would have Aria serving as a tutor to streamline her skills. And we see how much she is in need of this. During a paintball sequence where this sort of, if you'll forgive the expression, rich bitch hands Mamiya her ass just by shooting her once. She's very timid and cowering behind all the blockades and everything like that, trying to keep out of the line of fire. And this woman just walks up to her and shoots her square in the chest, and she let her friends down and such, and she feels really bad about that. And this is what really drives her to get up the gumption to submit this contract and see if Aria will be willing to make that deal. And it's interesting how Aria then sort of gets the jump on she and her friends later on. She's hiding out in a tree, and she's like trying to put Mamiya to the test. She ends up flipping her onto the ground, sees that Mamiya is actually carrying a gun identical to her own, to Aria's, and she, Aria takes it, and she's like, okay, well, I'll tell you what. We're going to put you to the test. I'm going to give you a half an hour. The chase will be on effectively. If you can get this gun back from me, away from me, in the half hour, that, the time that is allotted, the countdown starts, then we'll have this agreement. You'll become my amica, and that'll be it. I will train you. And so instantly, as I say, the chase is on. Aria is leading her across the city through, crowded streets, through empty streets, onto like an L train at one point where we actually see more familiar faces. We basically have cameos of all of the characters we know and love from the series proper, from, Kinji, the most notable, the one that seems to be everyone's most desirable to see in this series, that, they're most disappointed that he's not sort of a featured character, as well as Shirayuki. We find out that he has his own Amaka in the form of this very ninja-like Fuma, who comes into play later on toward the end of the episode as well. And, across the trains, as I say, up on top of this suspension bridge, literally up on the top of the bridge, and just madness ensues, and it's interrupted by the rest of this robber gang making a getaway across the bridge. And so Aria has to put a stop to it. She's going to take out these criminals, but something goes wrong, and she's very much going to be run over by their getaway vehicle. And at this point, Mamiya sort of intervenes and saves Aria's life. And suddenly there's a shift in, Aria's perspective on Mamiya, that she actually sees this girl having a sort of potential, and that's not all. And more on that in a moment. So, of course, once this is all said and done and they've gotten these extra criminals, taken care of, basically Aria is giving Mamiya another chance to take the gun away. And Mamiya decides, well, let's do this differently. At first, when you first said we could, challenge each other and, or you would challenge me, you told me to run at you. Well, let's do it the other way around. You run at me and I'll react. I'll try to defend myself. And very much do we see Mamiya in that estimation. I don't know whether she's just mimicking Aria's earlier movements or it's her own prowess and skill. She does manage to get the gun away from Aria for a split second before then losing her footing and going over the side into the water. But Aria has seen enough at that point to be like, okay, this girl has something special to her. I don't know what it is, but we'll make the deal. And of course, Mamiya and her friends are going to go celebrate. And we basically see this internal monologue that follows of Aria's, that coincides with a flashback toward the middle of the episode. It seems very blood, lusting and murderous, relating, I can only presume, to the past of Mamiya herself. But Aria senses something is off about her. She's actually having a sort of clandestine meeting with Kinji's, Amika, the Fuma, the ninja-like chick, saying, I want you to keep an eye on her. I want you to do some digging, find out some information about her, because something about Mamiya is not sitting right with me. And it's interesting, all of that, because when you go back to the opening of the episode, there was, for all intents and purposes, a flash forward, what I can only presume to be the end of this series, with a big-time confrontation, kind of like what you had at the beginning of Psycho-Pass, where basically Mamiya and Aria are facing off, and it looks like Mamiya is equal, on equal footing at that point to Aria, and they're literally guns to each other's heads by the end of it. And that is absolutely ginormously compelling, because WTF, what happened between them? Is there something lingering in that very sort of ominous and foreboding past that we saw flash back to, as basically Mamiya is filling out the contract, trying to get up the courage to submit it to Aria? Is there something relatable between them, between their pasts? It's very much open to speculation at this juncture, and that really excites me because I want to know more. I want to know more about Mamiya. She seems like a character who's very overly just sort of nerdy and inept and unskilled and all this kind of stuff. Very low ranking, as I say. But it seems like there might be more to her than meets the eye. And Aria may or may not have perceived that. And it also seems like there are other characters. At one point, you actually see Riko and somebody alongside her who seems to be referring to her as a sister. I don't exactly know if we saw that character before in the series proper. I don't recall. But it's interesting to me that, she's asking her, do you have interest in this Mamiya? Do you have interest in Aria? And whoever this is says no, but then at the end of the episode, we actually see there are people in sort of, this warehouse having a discussion about their interests, relating to this entire affair. And that's pretty much where we leave this first episode, and I'm really excited for it. I feel like just this one episode was more structured, more focused than the entirety of the original series, Aria the Scarlet Ammo. At least to my own personal estimation, it's just my way of reacting to it. And I also have to note, as an aside, this episode came out a few days ago of the time of this recording. And it was going on like 3 to 4 days without being subbed. It was just sitting there raw. And the subs that I actually subsequently watched just, previous to recording this video were very much broken English and not professional subs. I think somebody probably got really tired of waiting, as I was getting, to have this episode fully officially subbed and available so we could actually watch and enjoy it. And they probably took it upon themselves, fan dubbing or fan subbing, whatever you want to call it, translating the dialogue and almost too literally in certain estimations because of the broken English. Instead of referring to people as he or she, it's it, and the sentence structure's off and such like that. So if you're going to be watching this episode, if you haven't already watched it, that's something to be mindful of, that some of the subtitles and such just weren't up to snuff, and leaving you to figure out what exactly was being said. But it was a completely awesome first episode. Very much excited me. I can't wait to see where we go from here, and I can't wait to see this dynamic unfold and or devolve between Mamiya and her idol Aria, and what the secrets of her past behold. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of this first episode of Aria the Scarlet Ammo AA, if you've seen it, if you're one of the people who much preferred the original series and are very much disappointed that this is a spin-off and not a sequel season, that kind of thing. Or if you greatly enjoyed the episode like I did, even in spite of the bad subs in my case, just got me very excited. I can't wait to see where it goes. So otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.